The sexualization and adultalization of Black girls. Welcome to Relevant with Pastor Symintha, and we'll be back to have that discussion in just a moment after this. Welcome back. I'm Pastor Symintha. Welcome to Relevant Live with Pastor Symintha. So excited to have you join us tonight. We are having a serious conversation tonight about the sexualization and adultification of Black girls. And if you know anything about what's going on in American and what has happened in American history, you would understand exactly what I'm referring to as I bring that topic to light. So I'm going to be talking a lot about Black issues, as well as spiritual issues, issues about our faith, about things that are going on in our communities, a little bit of politics here and there. But this topic of conversation is deeply rooted in our society and in American history. Sex stereotypes of African Americans have existed for over 400 years. There's a long history in American society, and is deeply rooted in racism, bigotry, hatred, and misogyny. The Black body has been sexualized and is viewed as a product or property. And as property, the stereotype of the Black body has been sexualized in the eyes of white slave owners from the beginning of American history. Thus, historically, in America, the minds of America has not changed relative to this topic. And in fact, their views and opinions have deepened, and they have sat in this particular frame of thought over the years, and it continue to sexualize our young girls. And the attitude just continues from even a very young age. And I'm going to share with you some statistics as well as some graphs as to opinions and studies that have been done that perpetuate this actual thought process in America, as relative to how people's thought processes in terms of looking at Black girls in America. When Europeans traveled to Africa during the 15th century, uh, the minimal amounts of clothing were worn by African women because culturally, that's what they were. If you view all across the world, culturally, people dress differently. If you go to India, they dress differently. They dress for the climate. They dress because culturally, that those are the things that exist. The beautiful colors and fabrics and things of that nature. That has been that has been their culture, and that has been their history. So in Africa, Europeans, because they did not understand the cultural differences, or they didn't have the cognitive ability to rationalize that perhaps this culture is not the same as our culture, they sexualized Black women based on their own thought process and their own culture, not based on the culture that they were entering into. So they viewed the minimal amounts of clothing on the African women wore. uh, they didn't understand that it was appropriate to their climate, and The seemingly suggestive tribal dances led the Europeans to view Black women or African women as sexually lewd. So I may be talking about some things that may be offensive to some tonight. So you may not want to view this podcast on tonight, but I need to have this conversation. The conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be had over and over and over again. So Europeans didn't understand the cultural difference because so they based their opinions on their own culture of how they, had women dressed in poofy skirts or their how their women dressed, how white women dressed, as opposed to the culture that they were entering into. During the 18th century, William Smith, an English colonist, wrote that African women were hot constitutioned ladies. Okay. And I'll quote that. Who are continually contriving stratagems how to gain a lover. So he was sexualizing them. Writings such as these led to the stereotype of Black women as sexually promiscuous, and later notions that were used to justify enslaving Africans. Now, watch this. During the slave era in the US, Black women were referred to as Jezebels because they were culturally different. They were different than what they were accustomed to. So, based on what their thought process was and what their moral compass was, they viewed African women as lewd and sexually explicit because they didn't behave and dress and look like white women. So they viewed them as sexual objects, and it justified their treatment. The term was used to suggest that Black women were innately promiscuous and sexually predatory. Are y'all listening to this tonight? It was conceived that Black women had an insatiable appetite for sex. They based all of this opinion on African dance. They based all of this opinion on the fact that they wore very little clothing, not not cognitively thinking is because the Africa is extremely hot. So you can't wear a ton of clothing or you're going to burn up. Cognitively, they could not make that connection. And it's unfortunate that people who brand themselves as highly intellectual did not have the cognitive ability or capacity to understand the cultural differences around the world and why people are different, why people speak differently, why people have different customs, why people have different attitudes about things. Why Black women, that they didn't view their bodies as sexual. For example, breastfeeding, Black women breastfed their babies all the time, so their breasts were exposed. While in American society, they viewed that as lewd and sexually suggestive because they viewed breast as sexual rather than what breasts were made for was to feed babies. So they took that to mean that Black women were sexually promiscuous. During the slave era in the U.S., Black women were referred as Jezebels. Okay, because of that. It was conceived that the Black women that they had insatiable appetites for sex, and this justified slave owners. It justified their behavior toward Black women, the vicious nature in which they dealt with them, and the fact that they raped them because they felt like Black women, that's what they wanted. They wanted sex. That's why they were built the way they were built. That's why they danced the way they danced. That's why they dressed the way they dressed, because it was an invitation for them to be violent with them and rape them. And they thought they were welcoming this behavior, which is absolute nonsense. But I'm just giving you the information. So I want to share a graph with you of this survey that was done. I'm going to put this up here. Let me share this graph with you. Okay, let me share this graph with you. I hope that you can see it. Based on the survey that was completed, it was said that African girls, African American girls, Black girls were more highly sexual and adult, more so adult at these ages over white girls. Although these are opinions of people that they're taking, although it's not factually true, it's not socially true, and it's not accurate. So from around age 5, they start viewing Black girls. Typically, law enforcement will view a Black girl as 4 to 5 years older than what she actually is. So a 5-year-old girl would typically be viewed as a 10-year-old girl. And for some reason, they look at a 5-year-old girl and they think a 5-year-old Black girl and say that she understands sexual innuendo and say that she understands adult topics. A 5-year-old Black girl, but a 5-year-old white girl is viewed as innocent, not knowing anything. When in fact, both white and Black girls have the same intellectual capacity, the same innocence of a 5-year-old girl and a 6-year old Black girl, 5-6-year-old white girl have their equal in terms of their cognitive thinking on certain issues. I promise you that my 6-year-old granddaughter doesn't understand anything about sex, does not have the intellectual capacity to have an adult conversation with you on every topic. But because by virtue of the skin color, American society has adultalized Black girls to believe, they have adultalized in their mentality and their cognitive thinking that Black girls have the ability to think, feel, and understand things that adult women understand. A 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, 12-year-old. This is the understanding of white America. I just wanted to share that with you briefly, just so you can understand the perspective of where I'm coming from. So the survey comparison of the white girls and Black girls, same age, but the participants' perception of Black girls, it states this: Black girls need less nurturing. Black girls are less innocent. Black girls need less protection. Black girls need to be supported less. Black girls need to be comforted less. Black girls need to be taken care of less because of their skin color, because they view Black girls as more independent. They view them as more adult-like. And I promise you, my 6-year-old granddaughter cannot take care of herself. She's not on the same intellectual level as an adult. But in the eyes of white America, they adultalize a little Black girl and says that she has the comprehension to understand things that a little 5-year-old white girl does not understand. That little 5-year-old white girl that does not have the cognitive ability to put together. But a little Black girl somehow, by virtue of her skin color, has that understanding. So Black girls are not viewed as innocent. They over-sexualize Black girls from the very beginning by virtue of their existence in the world. By virtue of their existence in the world. In our educational system, there is a proven disparity in school discipline We suggest that the perception of Black girls as less innocent may contribute to harsher treatment, harsher punishment of other white children. School educators, school resource officers, it is a known fact. It's a known fact. We can see it in our news system, the stories that have been reported, the videotapings that has happened in classrooms. And I'm not saying by any means that Black children are innocent. I'm saying that there is a difference in the treatment of Black children because they are viewed as more adult by virtue of their skin color than their white counterparts. Okay, so Black girls are punished more severely, and this just gets me. It gets me upset. It really gets me upset. I had to deal with something like this when my daughter was in high school, and I promise you, I handled it. I handled it because I'm that mama that you do not want to come down to the school. And the way that I handle things, I don't go. I'm not ghetto. I'm not. I'm not what they expect. I go to the school board because I knew people on the school board, and I had conversations, and I had facts, and I laid those facts out. And that school principal that was giving my daughter issues was fired because what I learned to do was not to play into their stereotypes of what they believe us to be. They believe us to be uneducated. They believe us to be immoral. They believe us to be unintelligent. They believe us to be undisciplined in all of these characteristics that are not necessarily true. And I'm not saying all across the board that we are all on the same intellectual level, but just like with any culture, you have people that are on various levels, but we're viewed as as one individual. The collective is viewed as one person. So when one person acts up, that means we're all ignorant. When one person is uneducated, that means we're all uneducated. When one person is ghetto, we're all ghetto. So I wish people would do what Martin Luther King says, judge him on the content of his character rather than the color of his skin. But we still have not gotten there yet. We have made strides, but we have not gotten there yet. Let me go back to what I was talking about because I don't want to get off subject. We are going to have some more discussions about that, most definitely. So it is viewed that Black girls need less nurturing and less protection because they're more independent. And because America or white America doesn't understand that a lot of Black children are latchkey kids. So in a lot of ways, they have to be a little bit more independent. However, that doesn't make them adults. Just because they know how to put a hot pocket in the oven, just because they know how to come home and turn the television on and watch TV and lock the door, that does not make them adults. Any child can do that. Any child can do that. Any child you can tell, don't open the door to strangers. Any child you can say, don't talk to strangers. Any child you can say, run if someone tries to grab you. That's any child. But because by virtue of a child having dark skin, the comparison and the disparity between how we're viewed and treated is extremely different. So let me continue. The adultification of Black girls in schools can be viewed as a reflection of similar inequalities in other public systems. As Edward Morris has noted, schools not only serve as sites for the construction of race, class, and gender identities, they also reproduce existing inequalities in other areas and in these areas. Schools solidify or even exaggerate the inequalities in children that children bring to them to school. One example is the differential treatment of Black girls in the juvenile system. You notice And I'm going to bring up some stories in just a moment. We're going to talk about something that I'm sure everybody is familiar with. But the assignment of more adult-like characteristics to the expressions of young Black girls is a form of age compression. Okay, a form of age. Black girls are likened more to adults than to children. Did y'all hear what I just said? Black girls are likened more to adults than they are of children. A 9-year-old boy or a 10-year-old boy is viewed as a man. That's a child. But only when it's a Black boy or it's a Black girl, they're viewed as an adult. An adult. I remember when one of my nephews got in trouble. He's 14 years old. They tried to take him to adult prison. They told him he was lying about his age. He was 14 or 16. They told him he was an adult. Because they view Black children as adult-like. They view Black children as adult-like. And I don't know what it is that they're looking at when they see a Black child as opposed to when they look at a white child. If you see a kindergarten class and you have an array of colors in it, you have Asian and Indian and Black and white. Why is the Black child, knowing that all of them are kindergartners, why would a Black child be viewed as an adult when the other children are viewed as children? There's something wrong with that line of thinking. Let me tell you about this story. On January 29th, 2021, the Rochester police responded to an incident involving a 9-year-old Black girl. 9 years old. Now, I want you to keep that in mind as I continue to discuss this. Who they were told might be suicidal. An extended police body camera video of the incident shows that the child was agitated. Her mother and an officer attempted to de-escalate the situation. Granted, she's 9 years old. She looks like she's 9 years old. Okay? She wasn't filled out. She didn't have women parts yet. She looked like a little flat. She looked like I looked when I was 9 years old. Flat chested, a child. She looked like a child. Okay. And they attempted to de-escalate. The police detained the child by restraining her in handcuffs. A suicidal 9-year-old. They restrained her by putting her in handcuffs and placing her in the back seat of a police vehicle. Okay, let me continue. Several of the 9 officers who responded to the scene repeatedly threatened the child. They threatened to spray her with pepper spray while detaining her. 9 years old. I want you to keep saying that. 9 years old. The child is shown begging the officers not to pepper spray her. I would have shown you the video, but I didn't want to get a copyright strike. The child was crying hysterically and repeatedly calling for her father. At one point, an officer says, listen to this, stop acting like a child. He said that to a 9-year-old. He said, stop acting like a child to a 9-year-old. So what did he see her as? If not a child, then what is she? She's 9 years old. He told her to stop acting like a child. And of which the child responded, I am a child. The fact that she had to tell him that I'm a child. I am a child. He tells the baby to stop acting like what she is. What she's supposed to act like. My God, that made me want to cry. After the child was handcuffed, after she's handcuffed and seated in the back seat of the police car, one of the police officers pepper sprays her and shuts the car door. I just want that to process for a minute. I want y'all to process that for a minute. Would ever a white police officer treat a little white 9-year-old in the same manner? Would at any time a white police officer say to a little white girl, stop acting like a child? No, he wouldn't, because he would view her as a child. So they adultalize little black girls and view them as grown women and talk to them as grown women as if they have the intellectual capacity to be dealt with as an adult rather than the children that they are. That really upsets me. It really upsets me. And culturally, unfortunately, we have played into that. The Black culture has played into that. But I don't want to get too deep in talking about how Black culture has continued the pattern or carried on the pattern of sexualizing Black women. That's a conversation for another day. We will talk about that. Another important aspect of adultification of Black girls lies in the culturally rooted fantasies of Black girl sexualization. There's a deep-rooted fantasy. Listen, the commonly held stereotype of Black girls as hypersexualized. Hypersexualized. They assume all Black girls are having sex. They assume all Black girls want to have sex. They assume Black girls are always looking for a sexual partner, no matter the age. They assume that it's okay to do whatever you want to a Black girl. And that has been the pattern historically over this United States of America. And it's very, very unfortunate, the hypersexualization of Black girls and how it's perpetrated throughout all our history and continues to be so. In our history, they perceive black women as hypersexualized, and it starts with our girls and continues on into adult life. Let me pose some of these questions. Okay. How often do Black or white females take on adult responsibilities? How much do Black or white females seem older than their age? How much do Black or white females need to be supported? How much do white or Black females need to be comforted? How independent are Black or white females? How knowledgeable are Black or white females about sex? These are some of the questions that were presented for this survey that I showed you a graph of. And based upon the results of the survey, there was a perception that Black girls took on more adult responsibility, seemed older than their age, did need less support, need to be comforted less, need to be nurtured less, need to be they were more independent and they knew more about sex. D. Wright says it's easier to abuse Black children and justify white male sexual behavior against an adult, so they refuse to see them as children. Great point. Great point. It is an excuse. It's an excuse to abuse our children. It's an excuse to abuse Black women because they have visualized or they have internalized what we are and what we perceive to be based on historical attitudes, historical stereotypes, historical treatment, and I said attitudes of how they thought about Black women, what they perceive Black women to be. Because Black women are curvy, that means we're highly hypersexual. Because Black women are curvy, they think that we're always looking for sexual partners, which is crazy. Okay, so now Instagram models are curvy, so are they highly sexual too? And a lot of them are white. Does that mean that now? Inquiry minds want to know. So these questions were asked to a broad survey, and this is my understanding of this. The participants, let me tell you what the article says first. Participants perceive that Black girls need less protection and nurturing than white girls. Why? Why would a 9-year-old Black girl deserve less nurturing, less love, less protection than a white girl? Why is a 9-year-old Black girl perceived as less innocent than a little white girl? The only thing that it could be is by virtue of the skin color. The skin color dictates to historically to Europeans that Black girls are somehow more adult, are somehow deserving of less, are somehow don't need protection. And it's interesting that I've seen some videos, and I wish I would have pulled one of these videos up to show you today. But I saw a video at a gas station where this white guy just began to beat this Black woman up, just fight her like a man. Granted, he didn't know her. I don't recall how the whole thing started, but it wasn't a serious thing from the video that I saw. But he felt like it was okay because let me just beat this Black woman down. She's not anything. She's not worth anything. Because that has been the perception. They view us as not human. And I think it's the dehumanization part that contributes a lot to how Black children are treated. Even not only do they view Black children as adults, but they dehumanize them, and it desensitizes Europeans in how their treatment of little Black girls and little Black children. Because they dehumanize them, they don't view them as, even though they got little Rebecca at home that's 5 years old. If they see a little 5-year-old Black girl, it's not the same as little Rebecca at home. Little 5-year-old Black girl, she's Black. She's not innocent. She probably already doing everything her mama's doing. 5 years old. And I cannot imagine how a grown adult could even have that type of mentality. How can you think that? So Black girls were perceived in this survey to know more about adult topics. Y'all hear what I'm saying today? They were perceived to know more about adult topics and more knowledgeable about sex than their white counterparts. That is very interesting. Because I find it interesting because these children attend the same schools. They have the same teachers. They're being taught the same things. What do they think is going on in the Black home that is not going on in the white home, that little Black children would be so much more adult and have so much more knowledge than their counterparts on sexual issues? They think Black parents having sex in front of their kids. I don't understand that. I would be interested in knowing where this mentality, why it's so deeply seated in Europeans in the United States of America. Where are they getting these ideas about little black girls knowing more than what they actually know? Let me tell you this: the most significant differences were found in the age brackets that encompass mid childhood and early adolescence. Between the ages of 5 and 9, the graph shot straight up. After you got past age 4, the graph started shooting straight up, and it went really high between 10 years old and 14 years old, and it continued to be of lesser degree in the 15 and 19-year-olds, because they feel like at that point the white counterparts probably about even in their knowledge and understanding on adult issues. But for some reason, a 10-year-old to the 10 to 4, a 5 to 14-year-old black child knows more about adult topics and sex and things that they should know than their white counterparts. That's interesting. That's very interesting to me. Very, very interesting. The significance of this result lies in the potential for adultification, as I said, to act as a contributing cause of the demonstrated harsher treatment of black girls. Why? Because they viewed them as more adult. So they should be able to take more than little white girls. We can talk harsher to them. We need to give them greater punishments because they can withstand greater punishments because they're more intelligent. They know more. They're tougher. They can take more. They don't need as much nurturing or as much support as the little white girls, because these little black girls, we need to, we need to stomp on them and give them everything that they can take, because we need to treat them harsher. And this is the justification. And it possibly contributes to why black girls receive harsher treatment. For example, there was a story a few years ago that black girls were being sent home. Parents were being called. They were being put in detention because of wearing shorts to school. The same shorts that the little white girls had on. But when the black girls wore the shorts, it was a problem because the black girls' bodies were not made the same way as the white girls. So they blew the black girls' attire as distracting and inappropriate because they had sexualized the black girls and said the black girls were promiscuous because of their clothing. But the little white girls were viewed as appropriate, and there was nothing sexual about their clothing, although it was the same clothing. It reminds me of the issues that I believe it's WFAA in Dallas. A newscaster had, oh my goodness, I forgot to plug my computer up. Your mama forgot to plug the computer up and it's about to die. Jesus, be offense. I'm so sorry. It's always something with me. I'm so sorry. So I was talking about WFAA. WFAA has I believe it's WFAA in Dallas. It's a Dallas station. Has a weather girl who is a woman of color, very curvy, dresses real cute. Um, but because she's curvy, she's not fat at all. Because she's curvy, there were a lot of viewers that took issue with her attire. Granted, there was another Caucasian woman also on the news who wore the exact same dresses as her. I mean, the only difference is the bodies. She received a lot of hate. They called her fat. They said she dressed inappropriately. They said that she should not be on the news. Lots of things because they sexualized her because how she was built. She was a woman of color. And these things like this happen all the time, not just periodically, but on a regular and continuous basis. And it's very unfortunate that in this day and age that this continues to occur. In corporate America, you will find that. In our school system, you will find that. And it greatly concerns me, even when having to deal with some of that with my daughter when she was in school. And I'm sure at some point, my daughter will have to deal with it with her daughters or her son. She has to be concerned about her son being viewed as an adult at 5 years old or being viewed as an adult at 10 years old. Um, the daughters being sexualized at 5 and 9 years old. So this is a concern that Black girls need less protection, that they need less nurturing, that they should be punished more harshly in our school system. They should be punished more harshly when they're dealt with law enforcement. They shouldn't be treated the same. 9-year-old Black child shouldn't be treated the same as shouldn't be treated the same as a 9-year-old white girl. That she should be viewed as an adult, and you could say something like to her, "Stop acting like a child," when she is a child, in fact. So it just concerns me that things are, the more they change, the more they stay the same. And so as we grow and learn more, hopefully, attitudes will change. But I see it consistently has been passed on from generation to generation because racism is not something that you are born with. Racism is something that is taught. So it continues, and people say, well, the next generation and the world will change, we'll grow out of it. But as long as it continues to be taught, it will continue to exist. The KKK hasn't gone anywhere. Skinheads haven't gone anywhere. They can continue to exist even in 2023. And if somebody like Donald Trump can be president in this day and age, in the 21st century, then we know that things have not changed that much. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up. We are going to continue having conversations like this into February. Black History Month is just around the bend, and I'd like to talk about some more cultural things going on in the Black community. I'd like to change public perception of how European Americans view Black folks. Of course, we know that we won't be able to change everybody's mindset, but let's work on one person at a time and see if we can make a difference in how people view others. I am no different than some of my counterparts, my white counterparts. When you cut me, I bleed. You break my heart, I cry. If you hit me, I hurt. All of that, all of that. If you're mean to me, I get upset. So I think we need to learn how to treat people like human beings rather than like color. Because one thing about it, you're always going to have brown and Black people. So let's learn how to love one another and treat each other right. All right. So we're about to go. It's been great. It's been fantastic. Like and share this video. Share it on your social media pages. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it on your Instagram page. Share it on YouTube. Like my video on YouTube. share it around social media. I appreciate you so much. We are looking forward to, and if you want to sow into this ministry, Cash App Pastor Symintha. Cash App me, because I do have to pay for this platform. It is not free. All right, guys, it's been great, and let's continue the conversation and talking about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the Black community. We're going to be having a lot of discussions about that in the month of February. I'm looking forward to the conversation. All right, y'all be blessed, and we will holler at you on next week, on next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Father, we bless you. We thank you for this day and for this evening, for your good people who have joined us and those who will come behind. God, we thank you for another year, 2023. That's going to be amazing and awesome. God, you're going to reign supreme on our lives. Oh God, we thank you for the increase in Jesus' name. Amen. Y'all be blessed, and we will see you on next week.